What's up, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Dustin and Tonya podcast. Now, some of you may be wondering, because it's been a hot minute since we did this.
It has.
And there's been all kinds of changes and all kinds of life that's happened, experiences, challenges, and we're just going to start back up. I don't want to make this a big deal because I feel like that's where a lot of, we're going to do this, and we're going to have guests, and this is going to be awesome. And ultimately, the only promise I've made to myself and I've made to my wife and I've made to God is I'm going to do my best today. Mm-hmm. And wherever this takes us is where it's going to take us. And so I know over the years, I've had a podcast of my own.
Yep.
We did a podcast together. We've done YouTube channels. We've done all kinds of stuff. And that's great. But I'm focusing on right now. And so I just want to share our story, tell our bits, experiences, blah, blah, blah. That's what we're going through. That's what we've been. But ultimately, where does this start? Where does it begin? Where does me and you become me and you? Right?
Our love journey.
Yeah. So today we just want to literally share a little bit about how we got started, our journey to meeting each other, first time, what that experience was like, and ultimately what it's all led to today. So how did our love journey start, and how did it freaking get going?
Ooh. Well, it started not like most relationships start anymore.
Not today.
Not today. So our relationship, we first met in a bar.
Yeah.
And, I was living in a small town. And in this town, Dustin hadn't even moved there yet. You were just coming to move there.
Yeah.
And
that
day. Yeah. And so the thing to do at the time was to go to the bar. That's where everybody hung out at. That's where everybody, partied at afterwards.
Yeah. So just a little preface, and maybe we should just completely start over. And I think that's what I want to do.
Okay.
Just for me and you.
Sure.
I just want to start with we're coming up on 14 years of marriage.
We are.
We've now realized at first we didn't know shit. Mm-hmm. Now we're 14 years into it and we know less, but we've had way more experiences. And now not do I understand something more, but we understand the dog in the fight. We understand the fight in the dog. Mm-hmm. We understand some different things that not everybody understands. Right?
Yeah.
So as you and I begin to share our love story, and maybe I'll just use this, but we've been at it 14 years. We've been through the ringer just like everybody else that's made it this long. So when we share our story that says we met at the bar,
right?
Unfortunately, at this point in our lives, that is a timestamp.
Yes.
Because we met at the bar is not necessarily a thing anymore. Right?
Yeah.
We've had major changes in this world. Mm-hmm. We've had, technology. When you think about when you and I first got together, smartphones weren't even a thing.
Right.
It wasn't even thought of.
Right.
I got my first smartphone in 2012.
Yeah.
We met in 2008.
Yeah.
So when I say, or you say, we met at the bar, it's funny now.
It really
because people just don't do it. And especially in the last 3 years where obviously the world's flipped upside down, and meeting at the bar is not a thing that you could do. Right. And so technology's changed. There's Bumble and Tinder and Plenty of Fish and whatever else the dating apps are. And honestly, I never experienced that. Mm-hmm. I was just about to get into, what was the first one?
Gosh. It starts with an M.
Matchmaker or
Match.com.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
and so I was getting to the age and the preparedness to get onto Match.com because the internet was starting to take over or roll over.
I remember, I had put a profile and never moved forward with anything.
Yeah, and I had done the same thing.
Yeah.
And so to preface this podcast, to preface this episode, I literally just want to say we've now been at this almost 14 years. We've been together almost 15 years. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to share our experiences, share our knowledge, share our wisdom, add value to the world, and ultimately like tell people how we got here, as well as like all the bumps and bruises along the way. So to preface that, like, now go on with your story.
Okay. Well, geez, where do I begin?
Because that's truly the beginning.
It was the beginning.
So just start on day one.
I walked into the bar and I remember, I think you were at the jukebox and like locking eyes with you. And I was working on finding out where the party was for the night.
Yeah.
What was going on. But I remember seeing you.
Yeah.
And just like, I'd never seen you before. And you caught my attention. And your attention was on me. Because our eyes the entire time was locked.
Yeah.
Until I left the bar.
Yeah. Which was a total of like a minute and a half.
Yeah, like my whole purpose was just walk in there and figure out like, hey, where's the party at tonight? Because I want to go to the party.
Sure. And mind you, like I'm 22, 23, you're 21, 22.
I was 22 because we got married.
I'm 23 probably.
Yeah, you were 23. Yeah.
And so like this is young Dustin and Tonya. I've likely got a bandana on my head.
You do. You have a baby blue bandana across your head with a button-up shirt.
Yeah, so I am literally putting money into the jukebox to play some corn song or something to add fuel to the fire that's inside of me. And I got this really weird pull. And by weird pull, I mean like I needed to turn around. So I turn around and Tonya had just walked into the bar. So I'm in the corner, she's walking across the bar, and we just locked eyes. And she was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And I'm a firm believer in like energy and all these things now that I've evolved and grown. And I realized that like that was your aura, right? Your aura had an orange glow around you. And all I could think of was like, I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
Like that was the beginning of me like, what is that? Why is she so much different? And how do I figure out what that is?
Yeah, how do I pursue that?
Yeah, so she walks in, walks across, says something to somebody, turns around and walks back out. And that entire 90 seconds, I'm just locked on. She's locked on. She has her conversation. She turns around and I followed her all the way back out with my eyes out of the bar. And I remember looking at my buddy Frog and I remember saying, I don't know who that was, but I know that I need to spend the rest of the day with her. Like, I don't know why, I don't know, but like I just knew in my heart. Now, mind you, 12 hours earlier, I had just moved into this little town called Tecumseh. It's a town of 1,200 people.
Yeah.
It's very humble. It's very farmery, small town,
very small.
middle country, Nebraska.
Yeah.
And it's Nebraska. And so literally 12 hours before this, I had told Frog that this is cool. We'll live here for like 6 months because it's quiet. I've never experienced this before, so I want to experience all that this has town to offer.
Yeah.
We'll probably be done by midnight because it shouldn't take that long to get through all the town has to offer.
Right.
But basically what I'm saying is in 6 months, you and I are going to move to a big city so that we can find some girls, because there's never going to be like women that are worth being with in a town like this.
Little did you know.
Little did I know that God had different plans, and he knew that he needed to be in a hurry. Because I was already like time stamping and moving forward, which is my MO. I'm 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like as I'm moving in here, I'm planning where we're moving next.
And I remember for myself, like I was done with relationships at that time.
Me too.
Like I was not looking. I was like, I'm good right now. Like I'm not looking anymore. I am good. And then you walked into my life.
And I was the same way. And just to preface, like I'm just gonna tell you where I was coming into this relationship. I was fresh off of a relationship that started out 3 or 4 years previous. lots of offs and ons, lots of struggle, lots of cheating and arguing and fighting and anger and all this stuff. And about 2.5 years into that relationship, I actually knocked her up. And she got pregnant, and she ended up deciding that she wanted to have an abortion. So I paid the $364. She went ahead with the abortion. We thought we were taking care of it, and all we were doing was making life worse.
Yeah.
And so this fix or this problem solving that we had done, like, oh, it's only going to be $364. It's just going to be this one-time experience, and then we're going to go about our life. It turns out I paid the $364. That happened, and now 19 years later, I still have that experience. I still have that guilt and that shame and that misery, all of which I've done a bunch of work to get through. Because at the end of the day, we murdered a child that should be 19 years old. I was at an event this past weekend at Man Camp with 70 men and speaking life into them and all of this stuff. And it was funny because it got brought up, and I thought to myself, like, there's no reason that my son shouldn't be here with us. And it's like, but I chose the route that I chose, thinking that was a solution to the problem, in which it was.
Right.
But my solution caused many, many, many more problems, where becoming a parent would have caused many, many, many more problems. Don't get me wrong. It was just the choice that we made, and we got to live with it. Got to, I said. And it's a very, very hard thing. It's something that I've discussed with her since previous. And there's not a day that goes by that she or I doesn't think about that situation. Absolutely. So about a month previous to me meeting you, I had just left this relationship that was now like this toxic, dirty. We kept together for like another 1.5 years, but it was like fight, cheat, run, steal, borrow. It was just very, very toxic. And so I'm bringing my immaturity and my undevelopment and my lack of control and my lack of discipline into something that I'm also not prepared for. Like, I'm not prepared to have a relationship, right? I just left this. I should have taken 10 years to work through all that crap, instead of like a month into being single. I'm like, I've counted girls out. I'm going to give myself these 6 months, and then I'm going to move to a city and find me a woman, right? So that's how I'm standing at the bar, watching you walk in.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I had my own baggage that I was bringing in too, because just a month before I met Dustin, I had got diagnosed for the first time with a disease called endometriosis. And so in that experience, knowing that there was a possibility I would never have children, I was looking at that like, no guy's ever going to want to date me. No guy's ever going to want to date me if there's not, like, if I can't provide that. Right?
Sure.
And so I was dealing with a lot of my own emotional mess, bringing that into this as well.
Sure. Yeah, so imagine that too. Like, you're putting your worth in what your body can produce.
Yes.
You know, as a man, like, I've always put my worth in what you can make, or what you can get done, or what you can build, or how much money you have, or how healthy you are, or whatever. Like, we put all of our worth and our stuff into this crap that really doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. And like, you're brought up into a society as like, women birth children.
Yeah.
Like, that's your purpose.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And so when you can't, not knowingly for sure, do that, it's crushing.
It adds pressure for sure.
It adds a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So night one, you're walking across the bar. I'm seeing something that I've never seen before. You walk out. I talk to Frog, and in the next 15 minutes, you and I connect on a more intimate level at your apartment. There was some things said, there was some things done that I'm not ultimately going to get into, because I ultimately kind of like, I bullied some dude because I thought he was with her, and it wasn't cool and it wasn't right, but it's our story.
Yeah.
So I bully this dude in your, literally,
My apartment.
I bully this dude in your apartment.
Yeah.
And he ends up leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then the after party, I know this is going to be hard to believe, but is always at Frog's house.
Yeah.
And I'm a big proponent of that, and because I was never a drinker and driver, so it was like, hey, let's have him at our house because now I know I can just go pass out when I'm done.
Yeah, that was a big thing that you were always an advocate for.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we leave your house, and ultimately the entire party, bar, town, city, half of the state ends up at our house.
Yes.
And me and your party just get started.
It does.
And from the get-go, I think what was the coolest about us is we were both immature, undeveloped, scared, fearful, a mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we were it was that age, it was that time, it was who we were. And so we're all scared, fearful, all this stuff, but never have I been more truthful than on day one with you.
I was going to say, I think the coolest thing about us was on day one, we were vulnerable to each other from the get-go. Like you and I both laid it all out on day one. Like there was never even like, hey, we're going to date.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, I'm meeting you for the first time.
Yeah. Here's
my shit.
Yeah. And so it's funny because we're at our house and there's a guy that likes Tonya.
Yeah.
And there is another girl there that wants nothing more than to sleep with me that night.
Yes.
Real talk.
It's so true.
Yeah. And I truly mean sleep with, and we'll get into all that, real talk. But so there's a girl that wants to sleep with me. There's a dude that wants to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
But we're like kind of throwing a wrench into that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
So the dude ends up bucking up to me, and I was kind of like, hey, pipe down over there.
Yeah.
And the girl, like, she stayed forward pressing, but like me and you were locking in deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
So as the night goes on, it's, one bush light after another. There's probably shots involved.
Oh, I'm sure there were shots.
Yeah, like where I'm at 23 years old is I'm working for the railroad. I'm making $70,000 to $100,000 a year. I'm traveling 6-7 days a week. I have zero time to spend money. So like I have plenty of money as a 23-year-old kid. I don't have a house. Like our rent in Tecumseh was $300, and there was times we didn't even pay it.
Sure.
Like just being honest.
Yeah.
So I'm 23, alcohol, drugs aren't too terribly crazy, but it happens. But yeah, I'm traveling all over the country.
Right.
And I'm seeing all kinds of stuff, and I'm running around. I don't have a ton of problems in my life financially or otherwise. And so I'm kind of like a wild stallion, and you're living in Tecumseh.
Yeah.
And we're planning on traveling back and forth every weekend because we got paid per diem and stuff.
Yep.
And so you're literally living there, and we are traveling to and from there. And so as this is unfolding, we just get more and more real and more raw. So it's probably like 2:30 in the morning. I'm now sharing with her, or you share with me first.
Yeah, I shared with him first. I said, hey, look, like, just so you know. Day one, just so you know, I was just diagnosed with a disease called endometriosis. I don't know if I'll ever be able to have kids.
Yeah, and I literally smiled like I do out the side of my mouth, and I said, don't worry, it's okay. I've already had an abortion, so this is probably just punishment for me, like we're probably just not ever going to have any kids. And that was the conversation at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Day one of our relationship. So if you look about like truth and honesty, like we were both, not only were we both coming into it with some baggage, but we were both like, hey, this is what I'm going through, and this is what you're going through, just so you know. Like this is what you're getting into. Right. It was that like opportunity, if you want to bounce.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah. This is where I'm at.
Yeah, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. Right? And so I think that's carried us for 15 years.
I would say.
And obviously it's going to continue to unfold where people are like, I just don't understand how these two have stayed together.
Right.
I don't understand how they trust each other and honor each other and respect each other after everything they've been through. Only to come out the backside now and like, our relationship is the greatest it's ever been.
Yeah.
And it started with the truth.
Foundational
truth.
Right.
Yeah. So from there, we continued talking.
Oh man, we stayed up till
the sun came up.
Till the sun came up.
And I remember that there was a woodpecker.
Yeah.
That came out on our neighbor's house, and there was a metal faucet or fascia that was attached to their house, and that woodpecker would hammer this metal. And I was like, yo, what is up with that woodpecker? Because it just kept hammering the metal. And we were laughing. So it had to have been like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We were, smoking cigarettes outside and drinking beer, and it's literally just the two of us. The other 100 people have left.
Yeah.
And we're literally just intimately spending time and sharing our true selves with each other. Deeply. On day one.
Yeah.
On day one.
And the cool part too, that was different for me than anything I'd ever seen, was, so Dustin said, like, I don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't let me leave.
No, that wasn't even an option.
So I stayed the night with you. And we did nothing.
What does that mean?
Sexually.
What does that mean to you?
What that meant to me was, for one, that was different because every guy that I had been around, there was an expectation.
What was that expectation?
Like, that you slept with each other.
Yeah, you got drunk.
You got drunk and you slept with other people.
Sure.
Like, that's what happened.
Yeah, that's...
But you were like, I'm not doing that.
So when I said that I seen something different in you, and I felt like, man, we're being real, we're being honest, like, I've never experienced this before. So to me, that was an opportunity for something new. That was an opportunity to do something different. Yeah. Like, if you want something different in your life, you have to do something different in your life. Well, I knew that I had slept with and ran around with chicks and stupid stuff and blah, blah, blah. Right. And that had got me all the way to an abortion, miserable, drunk, and depressed. Well, that sucked. Right. So I didn't want that anymore. So for me, it was like, what do I need to do differently when a different situation is brought forward to me? So when I laid eyes on you and was like, dang, she's different, I knew that I needed to operate in a different mentality moving forward, or I was just going to have the same shit. Yeah. In real talk, I would have slept with you. We would have hung out for them 2 or 3 months, and I'd have rolled out. Yeah. And Tecumseh would have been real easy to roll out of and be forgotten about for the rest of my life. Yeah. Right? But I wanted differently. Even though I was messed up, even though our story sucked and we were going through the shit, I wanted to do different.
Yeah, you chose different that night.
So when we laid down, we kissed.
That's it.
And it started to warm up. And I literally just said, hey, I don't want to do anything tonight. And I want you to feel safe sleeping with me, as in like in the same bed. So I'm going to be over here. And you're going to be over there. And tomorrow morning, we're not going to have anything to regret or to be fearful of or to hide from or run away from. We're going to be able to look each other in the face. And if at nothing else, we're going to be able to say, hey, we got another chance. Yeah. We didn't mess anything up yet. Right. Thank God.
Right.
So.
And just that conversation alone was like, whoa, nobody's ever talked to me. A guy had ever talked to me like that before. Yeah. And I understand. And it was different. Yeah. It was different. And it was like, okay.
Yeah, because no other woman, like, real, it was the pursuit.
Absolutely.
And it's like, just like any other goal. You set a goal, and let's say it's a person. Like, I want to be with that gal. Yeah. Or I want to be with that dude. You set that goal, and then you pursue it with everything that you have, and you try to get it done as fast as you can, because we're we're finished people.
Yes.
We want to get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever want to experience the journey.
Right.
So it's like, I want to pursue this person. How fast can I seal the deal?
Right.
Same with business, same with health,
Mm-hmm.
same with relationships. It's like, get it in, get it on, get it done, and get on your way.
Yeah.
I've done that 50 times.
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't want you to be 51.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started differently.
Mm-hmm.
We started by being true. We started by being honest. We started by being real. And then we carried that into night one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to share it with them.
Oh, go ahead.
I wake up the next morning, pounding headache.
Of course.
One of my buddies walks into the room and is like, oh shit, look at this. These two freaking hooked up. And it was just like, go away.
Right.
We're busy. So he rolls out. We both wake up and I didn't have any shame or guilt. I had a fucking headache.
Yeah.
I didn't have any shame or guilt.
Right.
But we both kind of scurried because my buddy was getting married that night.
Yes.
And what did you have?
I had a keg race.
A what?
A keg race.
Now remember, I told these people that we lived in Nebraska.
Yes.
I don't know if keg races are a thing outside of the Midwest.
I don't know, but it is a thing in the
So
Midwest.
so explain what a keg race is.
Well, let me go back. So you have teams, and each team gets a keg
Of beer, like a keg of beer.
and then you race to see which team can finish the keg first.
And there's 5, 8, 10 people on a team? How many?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. 5? I think 5.
5 people on a team, and kegs are either 8-gallon or 16-gallon.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was probably an 8-gallon because a gallon of beer per person is going to be a lot. If you had 5, you're still going to. So understand that this is who we are.
Yes.
We are
Keg
racing, beer drinking, cigarette
shooting.
smoking, F-bomb throwing, hell of a good time. That's what we're doing. That's who we are. We're 23 and 22.
and we're having a blast.
And we're having fun.
Yeah.
But when I wake up the next morning, as a man at 23,
Yeah.
it's highly likely that you're going to be experiencing something, especially next to a freaking beautiful woman who's also in bra and underwear.
Yep.
Just being real.
Yeah.
I'm in my boxers and I have an erection. And I wake up and Tanya's hand is literally just holding on to my underwear erection. Not like, it wasn't any, like, we literally woke up and it was like, oh,
Hey.
okay.
Hello there.
Yeah. I said, babe, I told you no last night. Don't be trying to take it from me in the morning.
I thought maybe you would change your mind.
Yeah. And trust me, it wasn't that I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So at that point, that was literally the beginning of our journey.
It was.
That was day number 1.
Yeah.
And day number 2 was just as exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the wedding.
And
She goes to the keg race.
And then I show up. I remember trying to sober myself up enough so I could go to the wedding to find you.
So that I could drive you home.
Well, that wasn't the plan for you to drive me home, but it was to hang out with you.
Sure, but I mean, like, we knew that the after party was going to be at our house.
Yeah.
That was already established.
Yes.
So we're 24 hours into it,
Mm-hmm.
and we're already like making good decisions, being honest, being truthful, being respectful, which is what everybody will say.
Mm-hmm.
But I've experienced a lot of other people and a lot of other people's relationships and a lot of other things that people have experienced along our journey, people that we've had dinner with, people that we went over to their house, and one of the biggest things that I know in my heart that is different between me and you is we've shared all of our experiences with each other.
Yeah.
From the time as far back as I can remember to the Ronald McDonald lunch bag, my dad making peanut butter and banana or peanut butter and cheese and butter sandwiches, to having an abortion with the girl that I literally just broke up with a month ago.
Right.
We shared all of our intimacy. I know who you lost your virginity to. I know how it went. I know the car crash that you had and all of that stuff. And I believe in my heart that because I have nothing to hide, because I've shared all of my experience with you, because I've taken my mistakes from my past, brought them lessons into my present, and have used them to guide me into the future, it has allowed us to live, grow, laugh, love, and hate together. Yeah. Because we were just willing to share it all. And it's continued out throughout the next 15 years, and we'll continue to share that. But I just think, like, foundationally, day one, our journey is way different than anybody else's, right? We've wrote the other stories. I've been part of the other stories. Yeah. And so I just think it's really special the way our journey started, only to be able to look back 15 years later and like, wow, we kept true to that and we continued to share the whole way. And now we are where we are. Yeah.
So, and no matter what, we share
truth. And 100%. And that's, like I said, we'll continue to share the truth as we go. Right. Obviously, this is like 24 hours into it, but night 2 ends the exact same way. Same people, 5 a.m., smoking cigarettes, drunk as crap.
Sleeping next
to each other, but not with each other. Yep. And we did that for the very first month. Yeah. 4 weeks straight. I would be home for 2 days. We would party on the weekends. I would leave for a week. I would come home. We would party for the weekend. Every week, it was the same thing. Yep. She came and slept at my house. We slept in the same bed. Nothing ever happened outside of kissing, and we just wanted to be different. And it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
And it's a really cool story today, especially for those that know the rest of our story or parts of our story, where it's been rugged and it's been rough, and we've had instances of other women and infidelity and hormone issues and all these things. Like, we've continued to stay true to telling each other how we feel and the baggage that we're carrying along with us. And that's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And so I just thought it was a really good first podcast story. I just feel like it's a really good opportunity to, like, this is how we started, right? And then we'll just continue to talk about business, continue to talk about our relationship.
Yeah, talk about our whole story.
Yeah,
and what we've experienced, our lessons, our growth,
And so whatever this turns into, I just wanted to start with, like, how me and you started, our love story. How did our journey get started? And then fill in as we go throughout that.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful too, because sometimes we get so caught up in moving forward.
Yeah.
That, like, to go back through and you and I to sit here and walk through that 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like, there's some stuff that it was like, wow, I forgot about that. You know, and, like, just to reflect on that in your relationship and, like, how it started, and, like, it's remarkable to reflect. I think that sometimes it's important to reflect and see, like, where you started and where you are now, and, like, changes that have come away, and what are the things that you kept foundational. And it's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I just honor you and thank you for allowing us to share our story.
I honor you and I love you.
Yeah, and I'm just grateful to be doing this again. Hopefully, like, we add value. Hopefully this will be, but I think ultimately this is for us. This is for us to share our story. It's an opportunity to reach more people. I believe God's put me here to be a messenger, to spread love and to help people. And I know that if you knew my story and you seen who I am and what I am today, and you knew where I started and how I was back then, you could draw a line and say, well, if that can happen for him, then something similar to that is possible for me. So it's that hope, right? If at this point in our marriage, at 14 years almost, well, literally like a month and a few days away from 14 years of marriage, what I know is a lot of people have told me, wow, you guys have been married a long time. And I'm thinking, 14 years really isn't that long. We've been through some shit, but that's really not that long. You know, I've had people tell me, like, I just don't understand how you guys stay together. Neither can we.
Yeah.
Right? There's obviously an energy, a source, a thing outside of us. We believe it to be God that has kept us together to make it to this point. And if it's irresponsible of us to have all these experiences and not share them if we can help somebody else.
I agree.
And so for me, the idea is to add value, to spread love, to help people, to share our story, to share our testimony, and shine our light on you can fuck everything up. And then you can move 5 years and you can fuck everything up. And then you can move 5 more years and you can fuck everything up. And I can stand 5 years from them 5 and 5 that were fucked up and tell you that there's still shit in my life that's fucked up. But man, every day we show up and we work on it. And every day we show up and we work on it together.
And it's a journey.
It is a journey.
And it never ends.
It's a dance.
It is a dance.
It's a dance.
100%
and
it is
sometimes it's Five Finger Death Punch playing, and other times it's Frank Sinatra. And you just gotta know how to swing the dance when the dance needs swung.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I think the important thing to realize is that it's a journey. Your life is a journey. There's gonna be highs, there's gonna be lows. There's going to be times that you don't know how you're going to make it through in whatever season that you're in, but you just show up and you give it your best every day.
That's all it's ever asked of us. And that's where we mess so much stuff up, is you have this belief that you need to do so much more.
Yeah.
It has to be this big ass thing. And it's like, man, I love you.
I love you.
I want you to have a good day.
Yes.
It's that simple.
It is that simple. And sharing your truth.
Yeah. Your truth.
Your truth. Nobody can tell you what your truth. It's your truth. Speaking your truth from your heart, what you feel, what you're experiencing, what you're going through, and being open and honest and real with the people in your life.
Yeah.
That's how you journey through life and you make it
together. Yeah, I hear so many relationships like, oh, we grew apart, or you know, we just weren't growing anymore, so we left each other. And it's unfortunate. I hate seeing that.
Me too.
Because I know the shit that we've been through, and somehow we've managed to get all the way to here. It sure as shit wasn't because I'm perfect. And so I'm just honored to be here where we're at, able to share our experiences, our story, and hopefully help not only people that are just getting married, because here's the deal, 51% of marriages are ending in divorce.
Yeah.
I would love to say like that's okay, but it's not. Like, we're fucking failing as a society. We're failing as individuals. And what I believe is, this is just my personal opinion. If this offends you, I'm sorry. But I told you earlier, I brought a whole semi full of baggage and pain and depression and misery. And then I dropped it off at your front door and I was like, yo, you should roll with me for a while.
Yeah, let's do this.
And you were like, oh, cool. Well, I don't necessarily have a semi-load. I got like a couple dump trucks full. So I'm going to bring mine to your house. I'm going to dump that shit in your front yard. And then what happened is for the next few years, all we did was smeared our shit all over each other. So I took mine and was like, here. Shit's like sticky on my hands. And you were like, here. Shit's sticky on my hands. And we smeared it all over each other. And it caused turmoil and chaos and problems. And the ultimate problem, you didn't grow apart, you didn't grow away, you didn't do anything. The problem is one individual came in undeveloped, and I'm just being honest. I was undeveloped.
So
I was immature. I was unrespectable. I was not a person that you could look up to. I was not a leader. I was not a man of honor or integrity or authenticity. I was a fucking boy. I was a little ass boy with a potty mouth that knew everything in the world. Today I'm a 38-year-old man with a potty mouth that knows absolutely nothing. But I'm willing to share my experience. I'm willing to share my feelings. I'm willing to share what I'm going through and my vulnerability with the world, but most importantly, with you, so that you can also help me mature and grow. Because you can say stuff like, you don't need to do that shit anymore, or we're past that, right? And so because we've smeared each other of our undevelopment, we've also helped each other develop. And so what I believe is, when the shit gets tough and you're literally helping a 33, 34, 35-year-old boy develop into a man. That's a job nobody was supposed to do.
Yeah.
You were supposed to develop as a kid, growing up, maturing, learning, going to college, doing all these things. I didn't do any of that shit. I messed pretty much all that shit up along the way.
Sure.
And so I believe relationships today fail because we're underdeveloped, we're immature, and we're unwilling to not only face all of that, but also become better than that.
Yeah.
And when you become willing to share your shit, take responsibility for your shit, but also like ask for help and guidance from your partner, from other people around you to become who you're trying to become, or become mature, or become developed, it's a whole game changer.
It is a whole game changer. And I just want to say too that like when you sign up to be in a relationship, to get married, that's signing up and saying, whatever you walk through, I am walking with you. Yeah. I might hate it. I might not agree with it. I might very much dislike it. It might be the hardest thing ever in the world. Yeah. But I am going to show up for you. Yeah. I'm going to walk through this with you. I'm going to hold your hand. I might have to slap you a few times if I have to, but we're going to walk through it together and we're going to figure it out together because that's what we do.
That's what we signed up for.
That's what we signed up for.
And that's what we've talked about too, like the wedding vows that we've spoke. We've literally lived through every single one of them except for death do us part. Yeah. That's the only vow that we haven't touched. Yeah. And we've joked about it and we've kidded about it. But at some point, there has come a time when I did not know what in sickness and in health meant when I was 23 years old and took them vows. I did not know what richer or poorer meant when I took them vows when I was 23. Yeah. I did not know all of those situations that I was going to have to face, not by myself, gratefully. I had someone to walk through with it. Right. But to face these situations that it's like, oh yeah, and it's sickness good. And in health and this is great and we're gonna be awesome and blah blah blah. If somebody would have told me in 23 that you're gonna end up in treatment, have an abortion, do all this shit, mess everything up, blah blah blah, and this is what your marriage, motorcycle clubs, women, infidelity, hormone problems, disease, debt, depression. If they were like, and this is what marriage would look like, everybody in the world would be like, fuck this, I'm out. Yeah. This is stupid. Why would anybody sign up for that? But thankfully, we were able to use each other like an anvil and beat out, because I am a hard-headed, egotistical, fucking psychomaniac when it comes to life and living it, that my ability to beat literally myself out on you, to shape myself into the person that I ultimately want to be, not who I've become. I've merely just scratched the surface of who I've become. But like being able to hammer ourselves out on each other and then support each other, warm up a bubble bath, like, damn, you took a beating today. Maybe you should go have a bath. You know what I mean? Yeah. And have that opportunity to grow together, to learn together, to live together, to love together, to fucking hate together, to experience life to its fullest together. Yeah. When it boils down to marriage, what I have found is I've experienced all the vows. I've fucking been to the mountaintop and I have been deeper than I have ever wanted to go into the valley. But the one thing I know, in the last 15 years, I've had a lot of friends, I've had a lot of family, I've had a lot of fun, and I've had a lot of trouble. But the only motherfucker that's still standing next to me is you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If I look back 15 years ago, there's not one person still in my life aside from you. Yeah. And that is what people don't understand with marriage, at least in my opinion, because I've been blessed beyond measure in our situation. The fact that I have a partner today that I would take into a gunfight before I would take every Navy SEAL or Marine or all this shit. Not because I feel like you're a better shooter or we would do.
I mean, I'm a pretty good shot.
But because the way we act, the way I feel your energy, the way we move in a room, the way that when you and I communicate without spoken word, when we are into a room, people understand that me and you are in that room together. We're now used as the example in rooms when it comes to relationships, and we're here telling you how messed up it was straight out of the gate, but we were trying to do good. And so ultimately, like, what I've learned about marriage is this is my ride or die. This is my one chance to share my deepest, darkest, most miserable experiences that happened in between my mind and my ears, the most amazing, spectacular, fabulous opportunities, like when we stopped at the Grand Canyon and it left you speechless, or the beach in Hawaii, or the mountains in Mexico, or whatever. Like, I've got to experience all of that, but the one thing that's kept me on track and kept me going is my relationship with you, and knowing that whether it's good what's about to come out of my mouth or whether it's ugly what's about to come out of my mouth, is I know that barring anything crazy, you and I are gonna walk through it together.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, man. You're my best friend. You're my homie. You're my confidant. You're my freaking, we go into a shooting match together. Like, you're my true ride or die. And I literally didn't know that that was even an option or a possibility, especially when I stood in front of 200 people and said, yes, God, I do. I vow, I will, I am. Fuck, I wasn't at all prepared to be a man in a relationship. Shit, it took me 15 years to even start to become a man.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that the cool thing too is that you talked about how we help each other grow together. And I think in that piece too, it's important because when you or I don't want to say the word correct, but correct one another.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I used to be so childish and like take offense when you would tell me things.
Yeah.
Like that I needed to improve in something or whatever.
I probably wasn't the best in leading that communication.
But I remember I used to get so offensive. And then I realized that you tell me those things out of love.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to be in that space of knowing that your partner who is with you should be speaking to you in a way that, even though it's the truth, it might hurt sometimes, it is truth that is coming out of love.
And to help you.
To help you, not
to
hurt
beat you down.
Exactly. And so I think that that's a really beautiful part of our relationship too, is that we have evolved that, our communication, in how we help each other grow and how we can speak to each other, and we know when to be
know when to hold them.
Know when to hold them.
Know when to fold.
When to, I don't want to say coach, but like coach one another, but
Mm-hmm.
also like, I just need you to be here.
Yeah.
And so like learning that language together.
Yeah, and what is that communication? How do you ask those questions? How do you move forward in a situation? Because as men, we're fixers.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to fix everything.
Right.
I am a problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problems that I solve aren't necessarily the right fix.
Mm-hmm.
Again, back to the abortion. It's only $364. That was the most expensive $364 I've ever paid in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the debt 19 years later is still carried.
Yes.
I'm very good with where I am. Don't kid yourself. It's not something that's gone.
Right.
But it's like, it's taken me 15, 17, 18 years, 19 years to work through that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, man, we come with crap, but here we are.
Here we are.
So I think that's a good spot.
I do too.
I think that's a good way to end. I think this is good. I love the vibe of it. It's not like we've done this before and it's been this like orchestrated. We got to be perfect. Don't say any cuss words, blah. And what ends up being is it's just not us.
Exactly.
And so my only goal with this is to add value, spread love, help people, and have fun with it, do us, be us, and just share our story.
Yeah.
And I think we did a really good job of that today.
I do too.
Yeah. So with that.
Yeah. I would just like to add, like, if you get value from this, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know if you got something from it.
I think that's another reason that we stopped too, is like sometime, like, we've had a YouTube channel with 200 and some videos that got monetized. Tons of content, tons of stuff. And it's like, sometimes if it's not, like, if no one's watching it or no one's giving you any feedback, there's days where it's easier just to be like, why the fuck are we even doing this?
Yeah.
Right? But I think from our hearts, our heart position is to add value and help people. And so ideally we're going to do it. We're going to do what we can. We're going to do the best that we can. And we're going to share as often and as much as we can. So I just want to thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.
Tonya and Dustin podcast 2.0. Truly grateful for you guys. And I just look forward to sharing our experience, and hopefully it helps you in some form or fashion.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.